Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Oh, what am I getting that for? Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. So good. Sorry, it was a weird network a blip that just popped up. So good morning. Welcome to Mid Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. December 11th, 2021. Let's do this. So, good morning, Margaret, Carrie, Sharon. Good morning. Good morning. Hello to everybody else. Debbie. Hello. Um, I guess I guess we should real quick. Hey, Chris. Good morning. It wouldn't be right to not. Good morning, Nicole. It wouldn't be right to not go ahead and let's just maybe take a few seconds here to think about all the issues from the weather. Good morning, Dana. With all the weather that, a lot of us are still kind of waking up and hearing some of the news. I haven't read enough, but I'm under the understanding that, like 5 states took hits last night from tornadoes and stuff. And um, we, definitely want to send our best wishes and hope that, they don't, I know there's fatalities, so that's unfortunate, of course. Hey, good morning, Chris. So I definitely want to send all my best, all my love and light to everybody that might be affected down there. I know I have some friends down there so far. I haven't read the message, but one of my friends already responded to me, letting him know he's okay, his town's okay, because he's in Kentucky, and so I've seen some images from Kentucky, and it doesn't look too good. So, definitely want to send our best out to them, and I hope that everybody can do the same. Hey, Patty, good morning. So, all my best to everybody that was affected with the storms last night. So, hopefully, everybody's as okay as they can be. And like I said, I understand there's some unfortunate fatalities, and it's you never, sometimes you just never understand the weather. I mean, the weather is so unpredictable at times, but we're in December. I mean, the idea of having tornadoes this late in the year. Good morning, Cindy. And to see what it can do, and you just you can't help but feel terrible for everybody that gets affected by it. And obviously they usually early, late spring, early spring, that usually the times when things are a little bit more unpredictable as far as the weather goes, and having the hot and cold mix, which is what creates tornadoes and things. And so that to see that happen even now, it's crazy. But then again, our weather temperatures fluctuate all the time, and so obviously, it's just kind of a bummer to see this happen, especially this late in the year. And um it's unfortunate. So if you guys know anybody down there, make sure you're checking on the anybody that was in the states that got hit. And hopefully hopefully all your friends, loved ones, are safe and sound. So yeah, so that's definitely not the best way to wake up in the morning, you know what I mean? But anyway, I got a little bit of a list of things to chat with you. I want to update because there's a bunch of things I want to share with you all. Some of it might seem, you guys know my stance on negativity and things like that. And so a little bit of it's going to start off where it'll seem like, I'm just being a little extra negative. But there's obviously a positive outcome to it all, which is what the whole point is eventually, is that, it wasn't all doom and gloom for me. Just unfortunate, but at the same time, when I kind of found out, and I'm going to call a couple of my friends out, by name, because they were able to share some information, which then helped, helped understand things a little bit more. And it'll be interesting. And I know they're watching right now, so be prepared for those that have sent me things this week privately. Good morning, Dinah. Um, One thing I wanted to back up real quickly before we get into things. So you guys remember how when I was talking last week I mentioned, the days prior to last show, there was that sunset that I caught, and I had talked about the whole, it had that fire look to it. It looked like things were on fire, and I talked about how, that kind of, if you really look at it from a deeper, um, you know, spiritual sense, so to speak, there's that kind of coal, that ember that burns inside of us. And what I forgot to mention was, in addition to that, there was a sign that backed it up. When I took that photo, I don't know if it was that night. I think it was that night. Now, this, like I said, this is where, I talk all the time and I say, you got to be open and aware for when messages happen, because you never know when they're going to just pop in there. And this message couldn't have been so more true than this. So when I posted that photo, which I think was like Thursday or something, Wednesday, Thursday of that week, and I posted it up, I was really proud of that. I loved the look, and I loved the, what I, was being guided, when I felt, seemed like this is what the message was. That night, I just happened to be, after I posted all that, I was jumping on my computer, and I was kind of, going through emails and things like that, all that, fun stuff. And then, I kind of scroll through Facebook and see what people are up to. And, definitely try to acknowledge that, I've seen their stuff or whatever. And I ended up playing some, so I had my window, just one screen, but I had them kind of split where I was playing some YouTube stuff. Well, as you guys know, and if you can't see, I have Scandinavian, Viking in me. And that's why sometimes if you see people come in and they say, "Hey, Viking," that's because that's the nickname, while they've been on set for when I was doing the movie Never Blink, because there was two Adams. So if you didn't know that, now you know again. So Viking just came. So I'm very much into the Viking aspect of a lot of things, still researching, still well into that kind of stuff. And eventually I'd like to talk about it, on one of these morning shows. But I happened to come across this group, never heard of them before, ever. Not even, sometimes, you hear the names, but you never hear the music. So I see this video and I see the title of it, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Hey, Tanya, good morning. So I see the title of the song, and I'll say it in just a second, but I see the title. I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm like, what is this about? So, hey, it's got Viking, stuff in it. I'm like, well, let's play this bad boy. So unfortunately I can't do that here, or I'll get a strike against me. So I can't do it, but obviously I can talk about it, but I can't actually play it. But the group, the name of the group's not going to sound so Viking like, but it's the music, the lyrics are totally, fall into that Viking era. So the group is called Brothers of Metal. And what's neat about it is they got two singers. They have a female and a male singer. They got three guitar players, bass player, drummer, and then they have sort of a third singer, which doesn't do a lot of singing, but he does, a little bit like the chorus stuff. So, but they don't, from what I've seen, they don't really classify him as one of the singers. So anyway, but the song was called Yggdrasil, which, if anybody knows what Yggdrasil is, that is the tree of life. It's very popular. A lot of people know it, but obviously in Old Norse, they say Yggdrasil. And what's cool about that is, the tree of life really represents all the 9 worlds, of where everything is. And so the song was amazing. So I'm listening to it, but I realized when they get into the chorus, they talk about, a fire in the sky. And I played the video several times over, and every time I heard that part of the chorus, when it said, well, there's a fire in the sky, and I went, holy crap, what did I just post? Like an hour or so before that was me talking about this fire image in the sky. Hey, Jeff. And so I'm sitting there going, oh my, and then, obviously the light bulb's going off. I'm going, we there's the message. So not only did I talk about it and it meant something, but then here it is. I get into, I see some, Viking music, which, by the way, Brothers of Metal, does have a, metal sound to it, but they're not like, it's not like heavy metal or anything like that. But it was so interesting to see it. And every time I saw, the fire in the sky, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I forgot to share that, because that was neat to have it where it backed it up. I mean, here it was, I'm talking about it, I'm all the guys are just like, yes, you're hitting it. And then then they confirm it later on by watching a video, a group I've never heard of. And so I'm just like was blown away by it. So that was super cool. So I was really pretty blown away. But there that's the whole thing is you just never know when these signs are going to happen. You just don't. So I had to share that because I forgot. It was like as soon as the show got done last week, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot to tell them about that because they would be like so fascinated, because I talk, you got to be cool, you got to be open, see what's when the message is going to show up, and sure it did. So, the other thing I wanted to say real quickly, and I posted about last night was, yeah, absolutely, Debbie, synchronicity is you got to be, it just is the coolest thing ever. And I posted about it last night, so I wanted to talk about it today. And a few people I mentioned it last night to them privately because I thought it was cool. But before that, but then in the post last night, I posted. I said, "How cool is today's date? I mean, how cool is it?" So like, if I do this and post it in the chat so everybody sees it. But how cool is that pattern? Now, granted, as you guys know, I'm not the great numbers, but Jen Passavant might be able to help me out with that. But how cool is that pattern? I mean, 1 2 1 1 2 1. I love it. So Jen and I go back and forth constantly, all day long. And like if I were to do screenshots of like how we almost not, I'll say this in a funny way, but we kind of like battle each other sometimes when it comes to who's finding the numbers. And it's not just like the standard, like 1 1 1 or 2 2 2, which we do, but we also have realized that sometimes we don't, when the numbers happen and you just see it at that moment, sometimes they like work out. So like sometimes it'll be, and it could go any different way, like just off the top of my head. So 3 1 4. So if you realize, if you break it down, so if you take that 3 and 1, it equals 4. So sometimes we'll do those, we'll go back and forth. And there's been times where I've done it where that's all I've gotten all day is those odd ones that sort of equal out to the last number or the reverse of it. So I love that stuff. But today's date just, I was so excited when I realized that I was doing a show. And you know what? I probably would have did a show regardless of something today, just because of how cool the number is. So yeah, see, and then like Jen's saying right there, like when she had 76% battery at 5:43. I love that. I just and that's the thing is it just happens. It's not that we're staring at the clocks, and just waiting for that magical number to happen, because that's not the point. It has to happen naturally. It just happens to be when you look over, and Jen kills me sometimes. And again, I'm going to keep calling her out on this one. She kills me because like she obviously got her phone and stuff like that. But, and I give her, I almost said it. I give her poo all the time that she never sets her stove clock. Now I truly don't care, and she knows that, but I give her grief for it because she'll go, "Hey, my stove is saying this." And I look at the clock right away and I see when she sent it, and it has nothing to do with what time it really is. I'm like, so I keep saying, if I ever go to her house, hey, good morning, Rodney. If I ever go to her house, I'm going to set that without her knowing. But then she's like, "Yeah, but when the power goes out, it'll just go back the way it was before." And I'm like, I know, but at least I could say I corrected it. So, but anyway, I thought you guys would be. I thought maybe some of you would get a kick out of the date, the pattern today. So, and if you didn't notice it, well, now you do know. So, yeah. So, what are you saying, Jen? This is why I don't set my oven clock when we have a power surge. Yeah, yeah, because it's just gonna go out again. Oh man. So she kills me, and I give her. There's been a few times where the real Gary. Not really. That's why I said it really doesn't bother me. It truly doesn't. I mean, I get it. I mean, and if you're not really using those clocks for really any purpose, it doesn't really matter. Um, I just I just have to do it because it's just the sort of the relationship Jen and I have. She'll pick on me on stuff. I'm going to pick on her and stuff, but it's all because, we definitely care about each other. We love each other and stuff. So it just becomes hilarious. But I have done the same thing where my, my microwave, obviously is mounted above my stove. And so there's the two clocks. Well, if I look at my phone, it's obviously on time, but those I can't get it to be perfectly in sync with the phone, so they're always a minute or two behind. And they're not like they're slow, but when I set them and I'm looking at my phone when I set them, the problem is it just never is in sync. So there's been times where I'll tell Jen, I'm like, hey, it's 222, and but it's actually 223 in normal time at that point, because what we try to do is capture it instantly if we can. Sometimes we have to say we saw it at that point, but we couldn't share it with each other. But um it, it is kind of fun though. Like I said, we love doing that, and so it's hilarious because sometimes that's all we do all day long. We'll just send numbers because we don't have time to really talk a whole lot, or hey, what you up to today and stuff. So that's fun. So again, love the date today. So, you can see it's exciting. Hopefully you guys can tell that, you know, I got a little bit more excitement in my voice. Normally you guys see me laughing and having a good time. And, uh, you know, the majority of the week, and this is where we're segueing in, was horrible. I truly had a horrible week, and I didn't want to post too heavy on it. And obviously there were several days before I even said anything. Few people knew about it, but it was so, it was so bad. And so most of my birthday was on Monday, and then my wife's birthday was on Tuesday. And I'm just gonna say, a lot of it, because again, there's times where obviously we may all go through these moments. And again, I want to share it when it does happen for me, because it just gives you that there is hope. And I say this all the time when I have these days or weeks, and so I, you know, woke up Monday morning, no big deal. It was my last day of covering for my day job. So I'm a backup for our help desk. And so I get to stay home again. I was working the majority of the week before, and then Monday was my last day. And it barely an hour into my job, and I was thinking, oh, should be pretty light, there shouldn't be a whole lot of stuff going on, and sure enough, just all kinds of things blew up, and there was issues all over the place. And so it's hard when at this point in time you're really there really isn't so much support. And normally there is support, but there isn't support. And it really it was rough on me. And those that know my past, for a couple years I did, for the same company I'm working for, I work for their global help desk. So right now what I do is I'm on site at another company, and so we have a help desk there, so it's just local. But I work for the global. And and Jen's posted about the numbers, so I'll put that up there as I'm still talking real quickly. Thank you, Jen. And I was and oh my god, Jen, I can't wait till we talk about that, because now I just read it, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. See, that's going to go in with a couple other people that I'm going to call out shortly. So um I I was dealing with all that. And then because I'm covering, we've all gone through stress. We've all had different points in our life. I mean, some people can handle it, some people can't. And I was doing pretty good up until when I was working for the global help desk. And it got to the point where, the you didn't have any relief. All you had was customers upset, which, a lot of you might be, when you have something not working, you have to call support to, either get it repaired or replaced. And, you're upset because obviously whatever it is, you want it working. And you don't realize, and this is why I tell people too, it's like the people that you're talking to didn't break your phone. They're there to help you. So by you yelling at them, voicing your frustrations, which I understand, you are upset, you're trying to get it off your chest, so to speak, but don't you shouldn't be taking out on them. Don't be yelling at them for things, because if you want them to help you out, be nice to them. You know what I mean? There's a time to get a little bit upset, but to start yelling and screaming at somebody that didn't do a darn thing to create it, they didn't make the products, they didn't design the products, they're trying to help, and that's just my kind of 2 cents from being in that world. Do the best you can, and that's what I've done ever since then. Is that not that I ever was before, but whenever I talk to customer service, I try to get them laughing. I try to get them just, you know, having I want them to have a good experience as we work together to get this resolved. And there's a lot of times where you'd be surprised, and um thanks, Jen. Yeah. And and have gotten, sometimes you get a little, extra support out of it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, they'll let some things slide, or maybe, they'll, you know, it doesn't always happen. So you can't say it will, but give them a moment to where they aren't going to be stressed, and that they're they do want to help you, and even more. And so, what you give out, not like I said, it doesn't mean I've done sometimes where I've done the super nice things. I remember one time, real quickly, I bought an item for, it was a Christmas gift, actually, ironically, and I bought one little thing, and I ended up getting this gigantic box from them when it showed up. And I'm like, I just ordered one thing, and I'm like, what happened? And I open it up. They gave me a case of them. Now, the crazy thing was, is I didn't pay for a case of them. I paid for one item, but I got a whole case of them. Now, you guys, most of you know me. What did you think I did? Was I going to be a jerk and keep them? Or was I going to be the nice guy and return them? Yes, I did return them, because that's not right. I don't want, yeah, it's a free thing, but I got, yeah, it was a dozen. I got 11 free items that I could have just sold or given out to other people. But I didn't think it was right. Why not help them out? Because what's going to happen is inventory is going to come back, and they're going to be like, we're missing 11 items. Where are they? And they're not going to have a clue, because if they go back to the records, it's only going to say, I got one item. You know what I mean? So I call them up and I say, hey, I just wanted to let you guys know that you guys sent me a full 12 and I only ordered one, and gave him the order number and stuff. And, he was just like, okay, whatever, emailed me the return label, didn't say thank you, didn't nothing, not even like, hey, we'll give you like 5% off or 10% off, or, not that I was wishing on that, but you would think that here was a big mistake on their end. They couldn't have at least said thank you. That was the thing that got me the most, is I just didn't even get a thanks out of it. It was just like, okay, here's the label, and be on your way. And I'm like, wow, and I tried to be cool. I tried to be nice, like I try to do. I didn't, so, you try to call it out, for at least some gratitude, that I went out of my way to help you guys out, and can't even get a simple thanks. So anyway, but that's just the whole thing. So anyway, the whole point going back is that, that stress that I dealt with my help desk, years, really tore me up, killed me health wise. That's when I finally understood what, panic, anxiety and panic attacks were all about, because I never really had them before. It's one thing to be in the heat of a moment when something's going on, but then as soon as it's over, it's whatever. But it never let up. And I would get at, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours total of sleep a night, 7 days a week, so hardly any sleep at all. Constantly in chest pains, which I went to, got ruled out, heart conditioning, and all that crazy stuff. And so I, just could never shake it. And I never, thought about it. And it was hard to find things to do, to ease up everything. So anyway, once I got back to, got out of there, and I went back to doing actual conference room support, where I'm in the rooms doing stuff, I have the greatest time doing that. And so, but because of my background, I get to help out with our help desk at work. So, well, that stress came back full tilt. And it was weird, because not that I didn't even fail. I did everything. I handled all the situations. exactly the way they needed to be. I think it's because I understood that I didn't have a full backup, because normally you would have a manager. Well, our team's without a manager right now, which they're, interviewing. So I didn't have one. Anyway, I, and the person I'm covering for was on vacation, and I, didn't want to hit him if it wasn't, super important. And he knew that. He knew and said, you can directly reach out. And I would have, uh, but sometimes it's nice to have that person that's closer, like the manager or something, to be able to jump in, or, you know, talk, instead of, bothering the person I was covering for. So it is what it is. But there was so much stuff happening this past Monday that, I mean, I just went into full blown, panic attack, and it was like excruciating pain. And I'm just like, I still got through everything, like I said. And then the next thing I know, I get off work, and, it was great to be done, because now I got to go back to being on site again. And eventually what ended up happening I, you know, we, just trying to do my birthday stuff, and, didn't really know what to eat, because again, I was upset, not upset in an anger way, just upset that, just, it was not the birthday I set out for. I had intentions. I put them out there saying, let's just have a decent birthday, no, no anger, anything that doesn't need to be for me, just all positive, you know what I mean? So all things diving. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, couldn't decide on food. And normally that's, something we do here at my house, is that everybody gets to pick their food for the day. And couldn't think of anything, because just nothing sounded good, because again, my stomach was, kind of a knots a little bit. And eventually we, had some food, and then that food just kind of ran right through me, which was not a good thing. And so then my stomach was a wreck all night. And then woke up the next morning, still wasn't feeling good. Stomach was still a little messed up. And then, get to work, and I'm still dealing with, anxiety, because sometimes when you deal with a heavy amount of situations the day before, it does, still linger around the next day. And it just kept every day. And then, again, then Tuesday night's dinner, the same thing for my wife, just ran right through me. And I'm like, oh, this is just not good. And then Wednesday, it was still a little bit of sick, still anxiety. And it was just like, oh, I need this off my back. And then I was starting to have other symptoms. Now, that's where this is getting interesting, is all these other symptoms started popping up, and things that I was dealing with prior for months. I started having the weird, odd headaches that would just show up out of nowhere, like instantly. It was just like, you're like right now I'm talking to you, and boom, I'd be like, oh man, this hurts all of a sudden. It's not, it just eases up into it. It's like, boom, it's there. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of reminds me of some stuff. And oh, I forgot the symptoms. Excuse me. Ooh, I almost left out a big detail. Hold on a second. Tuesday, well, Sunday, I got alerted by two friends, and I'm not going to use their names for this purpose. Two people were dealing with COVID. Both were in the hospital. And the one, I'm actually really, I'm friends with the one. And the other one was a friend of a friend. And got permission to, because I'm like, they're like, hey, if you could do, send any healing or whatever, that would be great. And I said, okay, no problem. I said, can't do anything till Tuesday, but let me try to do something for you at work. I don't think Tuesday going back on site again, I think I can squeeze in, a little bit of time. And so I did 2 healing sessions for both of them. And that was awesome. I mean, and I say that in the sense that, I had the time to do it, did the sessions. The one that I know a little bit more, that person noticed an immediate change. Now, it wasn't dramatic. And that's the thing, is every time I do healing, I never say that it's just going to be night and day difference. I always start small, but sure enough, her O2 levels got better. And it was the first time that when they got up to move around or use the facilities, so to speak, they didn't get winded. And so that was like, wow. And so I was pretty excited for them, that, because that, my friend, has been in there since Thanksgiving without a single change since being in the hospital, since being admitted. There hasn't been any improvement whatsoever. And that's according to her. But to even see just a little bit of a better O2 levels and not be out of breath going to the restroom and then getting back into bed, that's huge. And that's amazing, that it was something that even just that little bit makes a difference. And I've been checking in. I didn't check in. I haven't checked in today. And I can't remember. I don't think I checked in yesterday. Normally I try to check in for the first, 5 days or so. But uh the next day after that, I just happened to reach out, on Wednesday and be like, hey, they're just curious, how you doing today? Anything else different? And, you know, I already said she, so I guess I'll keep saying she. She told me that she just got done talking to the doctor and he ended up telling her, he goes, I'm really liking what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. So literally the next day, the doctor is now even finally like, looks like we, gotten over that hump, over that hill. And whether that was me or not, I'm not going to sit there and say it was. Um, because even then she said she's felt just even overall just felt a little bit more at ease with things. She feels a little bit more relaxed instead of worried, because the big fear was not going to be able to make it home for Christmas, and that was what was eating away at her. I'm like, well, we can't worry about that right now. I said, right now we just need you to let everything absorb, let it get into your system, and then we'll go from there. And then after a couple of days of talking to her, noticed that it feels like we're on the right track. So now I've been putting it out there. And even if she's watching this, I've been putting it in her head. I said, well, now we know you're going to be home for Christmas. I said, that's just the bottom line. We're going to get you home. And it's not hoping, because, she even said, I hope to be. I'm like, nope, we are. We're putting that intention out there. We're going to make that attitude stance that we're going to get home. So that's been great news that, whether it was me or not, and it doesn't really bother me if it was or wasn't, you know what I mean? But to still see, somebody getting over something, and even then, COVID obviously isn't no joke. My friend or a friend, I finally, I didn't want to hound them to find out what was going on, because I just didn't know. But at the same time, that's sort of a thing that you want to know real badly, but at the same time, you don't want to, pry at them, because then, to me, it doesn't seem like that's the right thing to do. So I just kind of waited. And I think I finally said something Thursday, I think it was. And I just said, by the way, how's your friend doing? And she ended up telling me that her friend, I think it was on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, was that the friend was now going to get, down to a rehab facility instead of being in the hospital. So that was at least a clue, a sign that now her friend is in the, heading in the right direction. You know what I mean? Because obviously, if things weren't improving, I don't think she'd be moving down to a rehab facility to finish up. So another, good sign. Again, whether it was me or not, I don't know. I did what I could do, and if it was helpful at all, or great. If it didn't do a darn thing, that's okay. I did what I was asked to do, and so that's kind of a neat thing to share with y'all. Now, the reason why I shared all that was because then that's where these other symptoms that I was used to before. So I started having the weird headaches on Wednesday, just on and off. It wasn't too bad, but it was annoying, like they can be. And then what was the other thing? Oh, I have these, and it's not, and I've talked about it before. You guys have heard this, for weeks and months, really. I have these weird hot flashes, but they're not the hot flashes that we all know. You know what I mean? Again, I've talked about this before. It's not the same. They're because I'll have a hot flash, but it's different, because it's not so much to where it's like you feel like I would feel, cool and stuff, but it's something deeper. It's not, I mean, like we, well, if you have the flu and things like that, and you have those hot flashes, you know what it is. Like you feel like you're burning up, but you're not. And then you have the cold. It's just different. That you can't even say they're the same, because they're not. But it was interesting that I would have these, and this reminded me of the sessions I was having with Silasar, where, that was what I would feel sometimes the day after or week after a session with him. And it was the same two things, these weird, odd, strange hot flash things. And then, these headaches that were there, but they weren't, they would just show up sometimes for 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever, or sometimes they would just last every day and just be there. So like, oh, anyway, I'm like, okay, fine. So that's what I was thinking. And then, on top of it all, then I was like thinking, well, maybe, maybe I'm not, maybe there's something else going on. Maybe I'm dealing with some type of illness. Maybe I'm dealing with a possibility of having COVID or something. So I did start accidentally putting all this other stuff in my head. So now I'm running around going, do I have this? Do I have that? Well, I'm still good. I can still smell. I can still taste. I'm like ruling things and I'm running myself mad. And I'm like, what am I doing to myself? I'm not helping my cause. Hey, Jill. Yeah, I've been getting those deep internal, no sweat skin. Exactly, Jill. That's awesome. I'm going to throw that up there. Exactly. And I was like, oh, that is so weird. But, and I'm getting to the, where this is all going to be, the positive outcome to everything. So, um, I, that's happening. And I'm running myself around mad, just like, do I have this? And then I'm like, I'm getting afraid, so it's just common. It's something that's, we're all human to some degree. And, and it just was burning through me. And I'm like, you're putting all these what if scenarios. And then when you realize you just got to stop for a moment, which it wasn't till maybe about Thursday, I stopped thinking it was this and that. And, I stopped doing that. And that's when then I started talking to a couple people, and I'm going to call them out here in a second, because I want to read what they sent me, because that's important. But the first person that was, where is it? I want to find it real quickly. I should have queued it up, but I didn't. I had other things queued up. But that's not the one. Where is it? Shoot. Okay. I don't recall. I don't. Okay. Well, I can't find that one right up the. I think it was just conversation wise. Anyway, hey, what's up, Ron? Excuse me. Drink real quick. But I started talking to. I was telling Carmen, who I had on the show before. I was talking to her about it, and she's like, "Well, there's this like energy thing going on right now," and I'm like, "What energy thing?" And she's like, "Yeah, there's this thing in again, I thought I could find it real quickly, but I can't. But it had everything to do with leading up to tomorrow's date, 12/12. And she sent me one thing that just said the 12/12 portal is open. Do you feel the energy pouring through? Now that was a photo that she captured and shared it to me. So then I'm like, okay, hold on a second. what do you mean there's something going on for 12? So I'm like, okay, what's happening? I'm like, am I missing something? So then I realized, because when I was telling Carmen about some of the symptoms I was going through, she's like, well, yeah, that's what, in the places that she sees, and was reading, that was some of the stuff. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So there's been this whole, once again, a whole nother astrological energy type of thing that I was not paying attention to. I'm in the middle of it. I'm panicking, thinking it's all these different things that I'm dealing with. And, on top of anxiety and all that. And here it was, it's this whole thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. I'm like, stop it. This is the joke I think I was saying last week. I'm like, I just want a break. Stop going through all these energy things. But I know this month is terrible because there's things all the time. So I'm like, so this is cool. I'm going to read the next person that sent me something, because it was yesterday. And I was just like blown away by this. Yeah, exactly, Dana. That's what I said. Carmen usually has got the stuff like handy. I'm like, man, what's going on? And even then, my other friend Jen Pass Event has them too. So I mean, Jen throws them, sometimes I'll hit her too, and she'll find something too. So it's like I've got people, in my corner that I can always lean on that can find this stuff for me. So so I'm starting to feel a little bit better. So then Friday morning, I just happen to I kind of go through. There's a few people like Carmen and Jen. I usually tap into real quickly in the morning. Hey, good morning, and how you guys doing? How'd you sleep? That kind of thing, a little bit. And Carmen wrote back, like, hey, how you doing? And I said, well, actually, because I was at work, and I was like, I'm actually feeling pretty good. For the first time all week, I don't have, an odd headache. I'm not really, dealing with, anxiety. My stomach's doing great. I mean, dinner, held and, I'm feeling really good. Well, she, she wrote, and I can't remember the wording she put, but she just wrote like, oh, by the way, that's because the whole thing, that was going on all week is closing. So starting Friday is when you should start to feel better. And I put like a bunch of expletives. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, are you what? And it's so crazy to think that here it was after all this time, you know, it ends up the day I finally feel better is when the whole shift is happening. And and I'm just like blown away because I'm like, after all this time, this is why I have to start, I gotta lean on Carmen, I gotta lean on Jen, I gotta lean on my peeps to get this information in my pocket sooner because I don't want to go days, or a whole week before I finally realize what's going on. So that way I could feel a little bit more mentally stable. Not that, I am stable. I mean, I'm off my rocker as it is, but, you know, but still, I'm just like, dang it. So, and then my friend Nicole, who I know is still watching, Nicole, you know, sent me this yesterday too, because I haven't talked to her all week. And she was just like, hey, how's it going? And so sure enough, I told her, I said, I found out that I've been going through this thing. I should start feeling better. Well, here it was. Nicole sent me this, and I'm going to read it. It's a little bit of a read, but I think it'd be kind of cool for you guys to hear it too, which is why I wanted to read the whole thing. So, December is a month jam-packed with multiple energetic events. It can feel chaotic for some. It's like the last week school where you need to finish off and submit all the assignments and sit for multiple tests before the end of the term. But you have those who do not want you to graduate, and so they keep interfering in the hopes you don't succeed. Psychic attacks. This is what this month is going to feel like. It can feel like a constant uphill battle for many, needing the way through the tunnel, moving towards the light. Honor your body, honor your emotions. There will be plenty of emotional purging. Your body will continue bringing up old, stuck, suppressed energies buried deep within you so you may release it once and for all. We're going to experience multiple ascension and detox symptoms. Keep working on protecting your energy, releasing stuck energies, and raising your vibration. Surround yourself in protective blue light, clear clutter in your home, light candles, use protective crystals, get energy healings, massages, and spend time in nature. We are all preparing to jump into the new timelines between the 12th and 21st of this month. Look at your life from a new perspective and raise your vibration. You are powerful. Never forget that. You got this. And there's Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. That was wonderful. And we all do know that this time of year that stuff happens. It's kind of cool to see it written out like that, to where you see the bigger picture of things. And much to like what that was saying, about the purging and things, that would make sense of why things weren't as great for me, why, I didn't need to have like, yeah, I want my birthday to go well, and my wife's the next day. I want all that to be, be perfect and fun. But at the same time, I look at it too, is it really necessary? I mean, it's a nice day. I mean, not everybody wants to celebrate birthdays, but I also look at it too. I tried for a long time not to, it's a day, but at the same time, I just want the day to just be like any other day. I want to, hope it's the best if it can be. And so, I don't need anything. I don't need technically special treatment or anything like that on my birthday. I just want us all to, get along, so to speak. I want us all to let's just have a good day, you know what I mean? And let's just all do it. It doesn't have to be just me, centered around me or anything. That's not what I want. I want everybody to partake. I want it to be this circle, and that's, I think, is a little bit more powerful than just like, let's just put me in the middle of the circle. You know what I mean? And everybody surrounding me. Woo! But, not that, some people don't like a little bit of a little bit of a pat on the back, or you, you know, once in a while it's nice, but even then, obviously our birthdays are only once a year. But I still, for my birthday, that's always been like my wish for a long time, is that let's just all do that. And let's just all, hang out, and let's just all make it fun. So but that was cool. But that was the thing, was that, Carmen put it another, way too, when we were talking yesterday, was that, you know, with you going through all your stuff like that, you're obviously getting ready to help people, or at least be available to help those that might be struggling now from the 12th through the 21st, which that was another wonderful, I can't even think of the right word, but that was another wonderful, like, okay, that makes some sense, because I've talked about it, how there is times like during a Mercury retrograde where some people are affected and some aren't. And I've always said then, well, that makes sense, because you might be needed for the people. So if you're not affected, you're gonna help the people that are going or in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. And then afterwards, we're all going to come back and help you. You know what I mean? So, like I just said, there's a circle thing going on. We're all going to go around and just keep leaning on each other, right? Nicole, affirmation. And I think that's, the way it works out. So I might have just been getting rid of and tanking everything I needed out of my system, literally, literally getting everything out. And now I'm going to be prepared to start, being available. And that's the thing, is it could be just like, words of encouragement, or just sending messages, I mean, the things I've always talked about, and anything else that, I might be able to throw in there, maybe I'll get some music out, I mean, or just, play a song, and jump on and do a quick little live on, some music or something, but that's the whole point, is there might be a thing that I'd be able to do to help even just one person. And so that's, I love that, that, maybe somebody will be, that needs it, will receive it, and maybe I'll be the right person at the right time. That'll be the one that helped them. So yeah, I mean, that is, whew, talk about a week, I mean, we all have our days, we all have our weeks, and you all do. Who hasn't had a rough week, or a bad day? And it's just like, it's so weird that even for me, there's you because when you're in the middle of it, you sometimes are, things are a little foggy, so you can't clearly see it, which is the point of why I said you need to, kind of have a group of people around you, whether it's one or many. And I've got a lot of you that I can lean on, and, because I have some rough ones too. I get a little bit more vocal about it, as far as trying to share that, because I want, as always, and I repeat myself constantly, is, you see me going through these times, and if you're going through it, just know that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, a good light. You're not going yet, but it's the point that, it might be horrible, might be crappy, might be dark, but again, there's always going to be that moment where you're gonna come through. And if you got to reach out to people, do it. You know what I mean? Even if it's just that point of written a message, a simple message, you know what I mean? Because anybody that ever writes me, I'm usually pretty good. I mean, granted, with work and all the other things I'm, busy with, I still do a okay job at responding to somebody within the same day. Obviously, if somebody writes it after I go to bed, I can't hit them till the next day. But anybody that messages me, I always look at it that they needed to say something. Even if they're asking me a question, it's still the whole thing. Don't hesitate. If there's anything, me or anybody, one of your friends or your family members, don't hesitate to say, ask something, or just, even if you don't want to say like something's bothering you, but you don't quite want to talk about it, just have a conversation. Hey, how you doing this week? What's been going on? Throw the conversation in another direction. You know what I mean? You don't have to hit right out of the gate, something bad or whatever. Just have that conversation because you, the exchange of energy, that connection that's going on, especially throughout the universe. And I always look at like these, like, lightning, electrical, like, connection, things that are going on, and so all these, um you know electricity type of looking, waves are hitting, both of you or multiple of you, multiple people around you, and we're all connecting and we're all sharing that energy. And like I said, sometimes the energy from somebody can just help pick you up a little bit, even just on a simple conversation. So, yep. Yeah, Carrie. Don't wait so long to reach out. Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, it's, again, we're trying to really push to get a lot of the stuff that we've always known. It's always been in our DNA for a long time, that we need to get this back out there, especially nowadays. You know what I mean? There's so much that we're not doing, and you just see what's happening, and imagine, all of you that, make it here, whether you watch the entire show or you're seeing bits of it, and then you're, or watching this later on, after I post this, you know, it just makes a huge difference, in all of us, to just have that connection. And a lot of us all have the same mind frame as far as, what we're all about, and what we want to do, even if you're not doing metaphysical and holistic style of, help with others, you just hanging out, I mean, there's still that connection. It doesn't mean that you're excluded, you're not a part of the group. That's not how it works. But it's the whole aspect of just continuing the circle, and we're all, because if we can stay tight, we can keep reaching out, and our circle keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we keep showing these others, because once they see it, realizing how much more happier and, positive you are, it's infectious to a lot of people. Because, don't get me wrong, you're going to have the ones that are still going to want to try to knock you down, but you're strong enough to overcome that, and then they either have to move on, or they're going to, adapt to what truly is supposed to be happening, with us all. So, we got to keep doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? Man, I realized I'm only not even halfway through this cup of coffee. Geez, I got to stop talking. Dinah, feeling overwhelmed, it happens to everybody. There's a lot of stuff going on, whether it's good or bad. You can have good overwhelming problems, but that's the thing, is, like most things, you just sort of have to take it one step at a time. uh you you and that's where, like for me, that's where the anxiety and panic, it's like when it gets a little overwhelming, like for work aspect of it. Yeah, it sucks. I don't want all that. And, there's obviously some things I could do to completely get rid of that, or at least that aspect of it. Doesn't mean it'll go away forever, but, sure, there's things I could do. But, uh, I just, like I did even Monday when it was my birthday and it was in the middle of chaos, I'd tackle one thing, moves to the next thing, because that's what you're supposed to do. You can't fix everything at one time. You work one at a time. You just kind of go in an order. And like I did, I got through them all. It wasn't easy, but I got through them all, to success. And boom, didn't ease up anything, even though I got through it all. Didn't have any issues, no mistakes, but still, it's just that aspect. So just stop for a moment. I talk about going outside, even if you just stick your head out a window, open up your window. If you don't want to go all the way outside, just open up your window, just feel that fresh, cool air right now come in, and just take a couple deep breaths and just realize what's the thing I need to get to first. You know what I mean? And then go and do it. You know what I mean? Because if you start worrying about everything else that you have to do, it just continues to stay, that weight, all that stuff is pushing down on you. And then you just feel like you're never going to get out of it. So it's a great lesson for us all. A lot of us know it. We just have to be kind of, kind of tapped in the head a little bit and be like, hey, don't forget, so, you'll be all right. So, hey, Shannon, thank you so much. Yes, yeah, we got to find our soul team. I like that. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely, 100%. And that's the thing, is we're doing it. you know, Shannon, we never really, hung out before and you found the show, and so that's how it works. The message gets out there some way and you come across it, and there's a lot of people that have seen this morning show, and uh or knew somebody that has seen something that I've done, and have shared it and be like, that's how it works. It's just that's that little progression, and not that I'm anything special, what I mean, but it's just the cool thing is that I'm gonna, I keep trying to get out that positive energy to you all. I want you all to have great days, great weeks, and great years, as best we can. And if not, we'll work through it together. You know what I mean? So, uh, yeah, it's, we just keep doing it. And like I said, it's, we can keep expanding. We can always do it. It might be slow, but we're going to keep doing it. Let's see, Debbie. I always feel December has a load to it, and it's easy to become more, and it's so true. I mean, we look at it that just, and it's so weird, isn't it? Like, December is supposed to be really a time for celebrations, even if you were to go way back centuries ago. you know December was a time for that. I mean, when we get to the solstice on the 21st, it's when Yule started. It was a celebration, remembering, because part of Yule is remembering those that have passed, and celebrating life and everything that we do have, among some other stuff. But that's the whole thing, is that we celebrated it, but we've turned December, and we've added stuff that has caused stress. You know what I mean? And you think about how many people in the chat have been stressed out about making sure they get all the gifts for all their loved ones, and they don't know what to get. And then they're like, I mean, we've all been there. Don't get me wrong. But why do we do that to ourselves? Why? Are we glutton for punishment? I mean, it's so true. And I laugh about it because, it's just ridiculous on our part. And you know, I I think I finally finished up my shopping. I think I'm good. But even then, it was like there was a little bit moment there this week that I'm like, I don't know what else to do. Like, what else am I going to get? And finally, I'm like, relax a second. Even with everything going on, I finally told myself, just chill for a second and just calm down. And I calmed down. I'm like, boom, I know what I need to do. So I'm like, all righty then. So I took that moment and just stopped worrying about it. And then the answer came. I'm like, why didn't I do that before? Why did I, get myself going? That's just what we do. That's our issues, and we got to stop that. So anybody stressing out, stop it right now. We need to enjoy this month. We need to enjoy the season, because even when you look at it too, you know, when we're getting to the shortest day of the year, on the 21st, the solstice, it like we have to balance everything out. And we're a couple minutes left, but we have to balance out our lives. There's, don't get me wrong, we love when we have the summer solstice. We love that, because it's the longest day, the most light, everything. And now we're at the shortest day, with the least amount of light, and we can never, and I've said many things throughout the years and stuff, excuse me, you know, we can't put a negative twist on this month at all, and we can't do that. Yes, Carrie, I did catch it. um, and we can't put bad things just because, it's all dark, some, depending on where you live, you might have to deal with extreme weathers, snow, ice, it, we got to get away from things that have happened, that do happen every year. And why would we want to stress over the things that are just natural? You know what I mean? There's no point in that. Started pulling a lot of that stuff off of you because it doesn't belong there anyway. How many times have you guys heard me say it? Because I used to talk about it until I blew in the face. The fact that I love rain, I love it, and that's not. It's because I've embraced what it means from multiple reasons, but more so on the spiritual side of things, because we know what it does. We know it helps everything else, but from a spiritual side of things, when it rains, I embrace it. I do not because anytime I see somebody, and this goes like on my normal personal Facebook page, and you see people, oh, it's raining, oh, it's gonna be so gloomy, and uh, It's, every time I say, I always want to write in being going like, stop it. But why do people do it? I don't know. And if you're one of those that do, say it, try to look at it differently. If you've never heard me talk about the rain stuff, just take that off of you. Stop putting a negative twist on weather. It's weather. We have to deal with it. So you just go with it. Be a part of it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying to go out there and literally get soaked to the bone, but or go snow walking like me. So I'm not saying you have to go to those levels, but stop worrying about that stuff. You know what I mean? There's things that we should get off of our backs, not worry about those. There's plenty of other things we could be doing. You know what I mean? Letting weather affect how you are is wrong. You know what I mean? If you were so set on going outside and yet it's raining, doesn't mean you still can't go out for a few seconds. You still don't take away those feelings real quick. You know what I mean? If you need to go out, like it was a little bit raining last night. I went outside and stood in the rain for a couple of minutes. One, because it just calls to me anyway, but I just did it. That's cool. Yep. Get a little bit of wet in the head. Oh, well, I don't let it bother me. I embrace it. So, I mean, it's how, there's some things that we all got to start shifting because, again, get that stuff off of you. There's plenty of other things we could be doing with our time instead of worrying about that. And that's just the weather aspect of it. So, and we are at 10:31. So I am going to start wrapping this. Let's see. Carrie's saying, Gaia heals herself and reminds us every single day that we can too. Absolutely. Shannon, I love the spirit of the holidays. Maybe one should just look at how they really want to look at the season or the holidays instead of going with the old flow. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And be sure, get outside while it's warm because a few hours it could be cold. Yeah, that too. You just never know what the it's going to happen. But see, even then, I've gone out, I've shoveled snow in shorts. Again, I don't let it bother me. Granted, I'm not going to do that, if it's like well below zero or something like that. But I have done it. I've gone out. I've done a whole driveway, in sidewalks and shorts. Now, sure, people driving by probably think I'm insane, or you guys all think it's crazy that I go and walk in the snow, but it's not. If it really was that bad, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't have been called to do it. So, again, I've pushed all that stuff away. It doesn't. There's no reason to go against it and to hate that stuff. You know what I mean? So, anyway, we got to get out of here. It's now 10:33. I have kept you all in long enough, I'm sure. And so while I wrap up here, thanks, Debbie. One more show to go because obviously with the Christmas Day and New Year's Day are obviously on Saturdays. So I'm pretty sure that next week will be the last show of the year. Other than maybe I'm still trying to decide now that I'm definitely feeling better. I'm going to see if I can do some pop-ups if I can. I don't know. I still don't know when because now that I feel better, now I can start planning it, which was the hope was last week was to plan a couple pop-ups. So now that I'm feeling a little bit better, now I'm hoping that this weekend I can do something, figure out, something else. So I will obviously post about that when it's coming up. So watch for those. But like I said, I think next week will be the final of, cause I've been trying to, for some of the podcasting and, when I take this audio version, I dump it down. So, it'll be the final of season 2 cause I'm trying to keep track of that stuff because you put the numbers in over there. So it'll be the final episode next week of season 2. And then we're going to, rock it out, in January. Plus, like I said, it'd probably be good for me to kind of, take it easy. But again, so I said, I think I'd still want to kind of pop up a little bit, especially, maybe in between the, Christmas and New Year's and stuff, just to still say hi. And, but plus, like I said, always the day after, all those things, everybody's trying to get settled because, like the 26th, everybody's like, hanging out and relaxing because of the, everything happening on Christmas Day. So anyway, next week will be the final morning show until January. And then, I'm going to look at some ideas for a couple pop-ups, whether it's during the week or because they obviously can't be on those weekends. So it'll probably be during the week, if you know what I mean. And yes, we'll have some fun with that. So, uh, yeah, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Dinah, Carrie, Nicole, Shannon, Carmen. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And as you know, always, I appreciate it so much. I love the love and support, and you guys hanging out and sharing your mornings with me is fantastic. And whether you're seeing this live or you're watching this back, thank you so much. Um, have a great weekend to everybody. Enjoy it. And yeah, we'll look for some posts coming up. I should be back on the, getting some things out there a little bit more again. And yeah, we'll figure out some things to kind of fill in, over the holidays and things. So thank you. You guys have been watching the Mid Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. And as always, all my love, light, and peace to every single one of you. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And I will see you guys again very soon. Thanks.